second reading is from the book of Romans, chapter 14, verses 1 through 12. Welcome those who are weak in faith, but not for the purpose of quarreling over opinions. Some believe in anything, some believe in eating anything, while the weak eat only vegetables. Those who eat must not despise those who abstain, and those who abstain must not pass judgment on those who eat, for God has welcomed them. Who are you to pass judgments on servants of another? It is before their own Lord that they stand or fall, and they will be upheld, for the Lord is able to make them stand. Some judge one day to be better than another, while others judge all days to be alike. Let all be fully convinced in their own minds. Those who observe the day observe it in honor of the Lord. Also those who eat in honor of the Lord, since they give thanks to God, while those who abstain in the honor of the Lord and give thanks to God. We do not live to ourselves, and we do not die to ourselves. If we live to the Lord. And if we die to the Lord. So then, whether we live or whether we die, we are the Lord's. For to this end Christ died and lived again, so that he might be Lord of both the dead and the living. Why do you pass judgment on your brother or sister? Or you, why do you despise your brother or sister? For we will all stand before the judgment seat of God. For it is written, as I live, says the Lord, every knee shall bow to me, and every tongue shall give praise to God. So then, each of us will be accountable to God. The word of the Lord.
When I was a kid, the only troll that I bothered with, right, was the one that lived under a bridge in the folk tale, The Three Billy Goats Gruff. You know this tale? And there's this troll, and he roars, "Who's that trip-trapping across my bridge?" As the three little billy goats cross from one side to the other to get to the sweet grass. Well, if you know this folk tale, then you know that the troll taunts and threatens and intimidates the poor little billy goats until the very, very end, when the goats get their revenge. Now, the details of the story depend upon which version you're reading or telling, but regardless, what does remain a constant is the fateful demise of the troll. The billy goats turn the tables on that nasty troll, and they get their just rewards. Victory is sweet. But nowadays, I encounter most trolls online. You know the ones that I'm talking about. Those people who hunt for innocent citizens on the internet by luring their prey into a debate with inflammatory comments with the sole goal of starting a quarrel. Now, typically, I can bite my tongue as I enjoy my morning Mountain Dew as I quietly skim through comments and opinions on whatever article I happen to be reading. But it's also true, and I know this sounds a little bit appalling, I can derive a certain amount of enjoyment of indulging in a bit of self-righteousness, right? I just can't help myself. I'll read something and I will think, well, obviously this guy has not, whoever this guy happens to be, has not been enlightened by me. What better way to demonstrate Jesus' love, compassion, and acceptance to the world than to put that hateful troll in their place? Just rewards. Victory is sweet, right? Self-righteous anger is delicious until it becomes a bitter pill to swallow. In Paul's letter to the Romans, he urges us not to look for opportunities to be right, but to look for opportunities to accept each other in our differing opinions, which is not easy. I mean, I feel like this is just writ large across our society today. It's true that some causes and points and belief are worth defending. I can even point to numerous places in the Bible where Jesus puts someone in their place. My favorite might be when Jesus publicly shames these men who are wanting to stone a woman to death for adultery, which is obviously, in their idea, in their mind, not a value that they should be promoting. But he tells them, if they have no sin, then sure, go ahead, cast the first stone. Take your best shot. Well, in case you don't know that story, everybody ends up scurrying away, right? So yeah, Jesus did pass judgment there because he knew that he was right. But he's Jesus. So we're going to pass this time around, plus much of what Paul's letter is reminding us of, is that when we pass judgment on others, we assume a role that belongs solely to God. God is granted that right, and so is Jesus. I am not. I am not in the judgment seat. At least I don't belong in the judgment seat. Mostly because sometimes my motivation may start off as pure and honorable, but somehow along the line it gets twisted and driven more by my need to be right and to prove my intellect rather than by my desire to help others. I mean, do I really want to hear the black person's story and change my own behaviors, or would I rather spew hatred against the KKK? Do I really want to foster good and loving communities, which might mean sacrifices on my part? Or do I want to place blame on governmental systems? Do I really want to look at the ways that I live in contrast to Jesus Christ? Or do I want to tell everyone else how they live in contrast to the gospel? Because being right doesn't make one righteous. Just as defending theological doctrine doesn't make one a Christian. Somehow we end up fighting against someone rather than fighting for something. That's just a funny little aside. Paul, and I'm not even quite sure if he knows he's doing this or he does it on purpose so that 2,000 years later we'll just sort of giggle. He makes his own judgment, even as he's trying to be inclusive and unbiased, by referring to those with whom he disagrees theologically as weak in faith. It's ironic to me, because none of us are immune to the temptations of superiority or judgment. One thing that's curious, and I think this is why Paul ends up talking to a bunch of church people, and I want you to think about this. Because church people, right, they should know better. They should know to love the enemy. They should be practicing forgiveness and acceptance. Well, I find the more that I'm focused on making the world a better place, the more prone I am to self-righteousness and judgment. Basically, I'll read something or hear something or be in a conversation with someone with whom I theologically or morally disagree, and my first inclination is to blast them and say, have you not actually read the Bible? Do you not actually know what Jesus is saying on this topic? Well, I did actually do this one time on Twitter and did get blasted by internet trolls. And I've had similar conversations with the pastor on the other side of the county with whom I've had my share of theological differences. But more often than not, I end up keeping my lips zipped, mostly for fear of trolls. But those judgments, whether they're verbalized or they're internalized, are what Paul is cautioning us about. Unresolved conflict or quarreling can escalate to the point of tearing apart communities, tearing apart churches, and tearing apart relationships. Now, in today's day and age, right, our arguments aren't typically about whether or not the Sabbath is observed or whether or not meat is served, unless, it's Thanksgiving and you have a vegetarian in your house. I'm that person. We don't label people anti-Sabbath or pro-Sabbath or moderately Sabbath. It's not what we do. But today, we label people feminists or chauvinists, conservatives or liberals, supremacists or protesters, evangelicals or progressives, creationists or evolutionists. And we back them all up theologically. Or we are pro-life or pro-choice or pro-same-sex marriage or not, pro-gun or pro-gun control. Again, we ground it all biblically. Rather than recognizing each other first and foremost as children of God, even those with whom we adamantly disagree, Jesus died for them too. Rather than encountering each other with humility, kindness, and curiosity, seeking to understand and discover who they really are and what has formed them. Because Jesus knows their story. Somehow we end up worlds apart in our same communities, in our same churches, and in our families. Now, as surprising as it might be, Heineken, as in the beer distributor, recently redrafted Paul's letter to the Romans, and I wanted to share it with you this morning. I think that if Paul were alive today, He would get his message out to the masses by tweeting, "Drinks on me, conversation free, hashtag don't be a jerk for Jesus."
I would describe my political views as the new right.
I'd say that I'm left.
Feminism today is man-hating.
I would describe myself as a feminist, 100%.
I don't believe that climate change exists.
We're not taking enough action on climate change.
I think it's about time these people got off the high horse and started looking for credible problems that actually exist.
It's absolutely critical that trans people have their own voice.
That's not right. You can't, you know, you're a man, be a man, or you're a female, be a female.
Women do need to remember that we need you to have our children.
Could I be friends with someone that says a woman's place is in the home?
Right, OK, well, I'm an expert at flat packs. If you've any trouble, just watch me.
So it looks like I've got your instructions here.
I think so.
Let me help you.
Let's have just that bit there.
Describe what it is like to be you in 5 adjectives.
Okay, frustrating.
Dedicated.
Opinionated.
Lucky.
Ambitious.
Offensive.
Solemn. I have ups and downs.
Strong.
I want to say attacked, misunderstood.
Name 3 things you and I have in common.
We're both male, we're both confident, and we're both loudly spoken.
We know each other better than people who've known each other for 10 minutes should.
You seem quite ambitious and positive, and you've got this really, got a glow. Do you know what I'm saying? Your aura's pretty cool.
I'm sensing, are you former military or something?
People have said that, but there is no history. So are you then ex-military?
Yeah.
If you're ex-military, I'm very proud of you already.
Well,
So
I grew up in a bit of a rough state. I've experienced homelessness. I've known what it's like to have absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely most grateful just for life.
We've only just met, but I think you're the sort of person that would listen to me and we'd have a discussion rather than argue.
Yeah, you could hang out with, man.
let's go. My chance.
Goodness sake.
You're right, mate.
Fitter than I look.
Perfecto.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
So basically, I think we just built a bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here you are. Each take a bottle and place it on its corresponding markings on the bar.
Attention, please now stand to watch a short film.
Feminism today is definitely an excuse for misandry, man-hating.
If somebody said to me that climate change is destroying the world, then I'd say that is total piffle.
So transgender, it is very odd. We're not set up to understand or see things like that.
I am a daughter, a wife. I am transgender.
I feel like the battle for feminism definitely isn't done. The fight is never going to be over, if I'm honest with you.
You now have a choice. You may go, or you can stay and discuss your differences over a beer.
I'm only joking.
You had me for a second then.
Well, I'm having a drink.
I'm having a drink.
Yeah.
I want to discuss.
Beer.
Yeah, beer and discuss.
Cheers.
At the end of the day, mate,
About
I've
reaching
enjoyed
out to
working
people,
with you.
yeah. And, you know, even if you wanted to convince people about your point, the productive thing to do would be to sit
It's
down, have a
engage, it's
beer.
engage.
I've been brought up in a way where everything's black and white, but life isn't black and white.
Yeah, I'm just me.
Yeah.
Smash the patriarchy.
I'll give you my mobile number, you give me yours, and we'll keep in touch. I'd have to tell my girlfriend that I'll be texting another girl. She might get upset with that, but I'll have to get round that.
I'll have to tell my girl.
She'll have to lump it.
Anyone want a beer? Okay, so all joking aside, this commercial is not perfect. I mean, it certainly plays on stereotypes, and the people are hired actors, and they're trying to sell beer. But the thesis of the experiment is the same one that Paul invites us to participate in. The message here is not that beer solves differences. And the message is not, can't we all just get along? And the message is not, you must change your beliefs to conform to mine. I read some of the comments on the Heineken YouTube post, because I just couldn't help myself. And some people, this is a direct quote, some people believe that it is naive crap to think that we can have meaningful conversation or relationships with those who think differently. And it would be if I did things my way. But it's not my ways that change the world as much as I would like it to be. It is Jesus' ways. Whatever else Jesus may have envisioned for his church and for his world, the one thing that Jesus was clear about was that we would never be finished with the need to forgive one another. Quarrels and disagreements are inevitable, and Jesus knows it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have pressed so hard on forgiveness, and he wouldn't have pressed so hard on loving your enemy. As followers of Jesus, we don't get to toss those with whom we disagree over the bridge to be eaten by trolls. Now, Jesus would prefer that we invite them over for a beer, or a soda in my case, right? And raise our glasses in his toast. All who hunger and thirst for righteousness are welcome here at my table. May we know forgiveness and acceptance, and may we grant it. May we respect one another in our agreements and in our disagreements. And may heaven and earth become one. Cheers.